Welcome to Journey with Lay podcast. We discuss leadership, culture, and how to take your business to new heights. Your host, Lay Wang, is an adventurer, motivational speaker, and executive coach. Join us each week to learn how you and your team can reach your highest aspirations. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Journey with Lay Leadership podcast. This is a place where purpose-driven leaders come to learn how to step into that authentic leadership role that resonates with their hearts and souls. I'm your host, Lay Wang. As an adventurer, motivational speaker, and executive coach, I believe if you dare to dream it, you can achieve it. Join me every week to learn how you can reach your highest aspirations while living an exciting and balanced life, so you can take your teams and business to new heights with ease and grace. Now, let's go. So today's episode is a special one because what I have in the studio here is Jerry Tuisl. He is the owner and the coach of Top Dog Business Coaching. So he is a coach himself, and I happen to have the privilege to be his coach for the past year. So today, we're not doing a normal interview format. You're actually going to be able to tap into the wisdom of two coaches here. So we'll just have our free-going conversation, share what we learned, share what we can help everyone here. So Jerry, welcome.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me join you today. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
And I feel very privileged to be working with you for the past year.
Yeah.
And you know what? I had always been curious. And I think a lot of people probably would want to understand it also. You are a coach yourself. Okay. Shouldn't you be able to coach yourself everything already? Why you need to seek out a coach?
That's a great question. Either coach myself or just listen to my wife more, right? That's probably the thing that most people would say. So, coaches, we're people too, right? We're business owners, just like the people we coach. And so we're challenged with accountability. We're challenged with making the right decisions. We have the same challenges that all of our clients have as well. It is unique that it is our business to be a coach, but perspective is everything, isn't it? Taking perspective and understanding that. And we experience, though, the same emotions all of our clients do, fears and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a great question. It's a pretty standard question. What I have done, Lee, since I started was the one thing I made sure that I've always done is had a coach as I'm building my coaching business, actually. So there's irony in the fact that I'm a coach that hires a coach. But if anyone should understand that taking perspective from someone else, it would be a coach like you or I, right?
Thank you. So I wonder, when we first started, what was the challenge you were facing, or was something you were struggling with that prompted you to seek out a coach?
Yeah. Well, when we first started, I was working for a great company. I was a 1099. I was an independent contractor for a company. And I was, just challenged with primarily my long-term. I'm someone who, if you take the Strengths Finder assessment, I'm futuristic. So I have a tendency to always think about what's down the road. It's easier for me to think down the road than it is right in front of me. So I'm always thinking of what's next, right? I was to the point in my career with that company where I didn't know if I wanted to stay status quo with that company as is. So when we first started working together was my long-term direction. And that's where you helped. And I knew right where you're going to go, but I needed to hear this from someone else, and I needed to hear it from you, was just sort of spelling out what my desires are, what my goals are, what's my vision for my own life and my own business. And so I was unsure and fearful. I was scared to take the next step to really go after what I'd wanted for many, many years. And thankfully you helped me make that happen.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity that I had to work with you, because I think one thing great about working in the coaching business is while I'm helping my client, I actually also learn a lot. It's just like Jerry said, we help client overcome the fear to gain the confidence. Actually, ourselves also have that fear, have that insecurity all the time. So we're working through that at the same time. So I feel like a great opportunity to both of us kind of grow together.
Absolutely. The other thing I'll say with that is, just so whoever hears this knows is I had met you probably, was it a year before that?
At least I think a year before that, 2 years.
Maybe 2 years before that. We met for coffee once, and I was trying to recruit you at the time, and then stayed in touch. But what you did was you made a good impression upon me, but you weren't chasing after me necessarily, but you just made a really good impression. And if you remember right, I believe I sought you out. I remembered you, and I wanted a coach from someone outside of my sphere of influence or my bubble. We weren't, we were linked in together, I think, but we weren't, spending any time together or talking on a regular basis. I wanted someone who was outside my bubble. So I think that's important when you're choosing a coach. But I approached you, if I remember right, after we had met a couple years in advance.
Yeah, I actually was totally surprised that day when I saw your name popped on my calendar. I said, oh, actually, I remember this person. I got surprised at how he remembered me, like almost 2 years since we last met. Yep. And COVID, like everyone is so far away from everyone else. Like, wow, I'm surprised.
It's a testament to your approach and a testament to something that I'm getting better at is social media, because you're very just not over too much on social media. You're just right. You're just, peppering out those great discussions on social media. And so between social media and then your first impression, for me, I had already chosen to work with you before I even contacted you in my mind as someone that I knew that I could trust. I liked their approach, and that it would hold me accountable to help me make decisions to move forward. So
thank you so much.
Yeah,
that really made me very happy that day when I saw your name pop up. And once we had our first conversation, I said, oh, okay, yeah, I think I know exactly how you were feeling at that moment, at that spot.
Yeah, you did a great job of asking questions. And then you said, I think you said, are we going to do this or not? Or something like that. And I said, we're going to do this. And then, so it was that simple. But you did a really good job of painting a future down the road. Tell me what it's like when you achieve these things. And I still do. I do that with my clients even today, still, is make sure I do that. And I remember, because how you made me feel, it made a lasting impression, is to put someone in that, mentally in that position in the future, and talk about it and get them to share, what will life be like if or when we do this together. So
yeah, thank you. I love that. So you might share a little bit more, like what kind of like new routine or habit or mindset you adopted since then?
Since we started working together?
Yeah. One
was journaling, and I journaled in the past, but that was one that you've helped me develop. And that is something that just, it's sort of it's a little way to chip away, I believe, at having the right mindset. So journaling every morning, and I think I've still done the same format of 3 things that I'm grateful for. I'm sorry, the one thing I'm grateful for, and then 3 things I want to accomplish that day. And it's all of my journaling every day is written in a sort of a positive tone. It's also essentially one of the first things I do when I get out of bed in the morning. So journaling would definitely be one thing. Another thing I would say, just think, it's one thing to actually think through the vision of where we want to go, but more about almost meditating or thinking through that vision on either a daily or every other day basis, I would say, on average. So putting myself 6 months down the road and being able to see myself in that next level of success, whatever that might be. So you did a really good job of that, is living into that vision every day, and it just helps pull you toward it more and more. And then I think just helping others take perspective. You've always done a really good job. I'll share a story, of a client. I'll keep it confidential, but we'll talk about how I've navigated different clients and get your take on that, which is unique. I'm someone that trusts you. I trust coaches. I believe all coaches are positive benefit for people. I don't feel, there's a competition thing between us, even though we're both leadership coaches, right? I believe there's plenty of people out there in the world that need coaching. We don't have to be adversaries, right? I think it's a much stronger bond together. So I think you've helped me become a better coach as well, not just growing my business and taking my business to a different position, but how you have listened to me through coaching. It reminds me to make sure that I stop and listen and just be cognizant of what's going on within a client's situation.
Yeah, I think I love that. And I found a lot of times when client came to us, they were asking for a specific solution to a specific situation. Like, I need someone who had been there, done that, show me exact step I can take. But actually, I just learned a lot of times we have to keep on reminding ourselves that this question or the problem behind it is much bigger than what is in front of us.
Yes.
Yeah, so I felt like for myself, I always feel super important to keep on reminding myself, what is my vision 5 years, 10 years down the road? Not just like what I need to finish today, what I need to get this quarter.
Yeah, definitely. I heard someone say recently, talk about problems and symptoms. Some things are just symptoms to the greater problem, right? But sometimes a lot of people might think what are actually symptoms are their actual problem. So it's good to, I think, always to dig a little bit more and ask yourself and question, do I need to go further on that, whether it's introspectively or with a client?
Yeah. So after we worked for this year, so what are some major breakthroughs or major milestones you achieved?
Yeah. So probably one of the biggest was making the decision to move forward and work primarily with dentists. And that decision was, I had a number of referrals coming in from dentists that I've already have helped. I also had been working with other professionals, and I still have some that I coach at, but making the decision to move essentially from sales and leadership coaching, but mostly sales, to business coaching with really a focus toward working with dentists. And that was a big one. So that's actual, full on direction, because if you're not going to work with dentists or you want to work with a specific area, it's good to know exactly who. So pinpointing who I want to work with, that was one. I would say then also just consistency of putting myself out there and marketing and having the right conversations and who I'm having those conversations with. That was another thing. And just trying to think here. Well, I went from about 4 clients to about 20 clients. So in terms of just numbers of clients and being able to, go solo and go out on my own, fortunately, I had the ability to understand what it was like to have to get clients, because I'd been experiencing that. But because of a contractual situation, I had to go out and get new clients, right? So, but I was able to do that, and you helped kind of hold me accountable to those areas and believe that it was going to happen. I think believing itself, like having someone there to be your sort of belief, someone else who believes that you're going to succeed, I guess, where we sort of locked arm in arm and believing that I could do this thing by breaking free, going solo, going out on my own and being successful at it.
Yeah, I love to touch on the belief, because lots of time we talked about the belief that people kind of feel like, yeah, it's so easy for you to say it, but I don't have the confidence how I can believe in that, and how you believe in me can give me the power. Yeah. So before I had that doubt too, like when I experienced it, when I was climbing Everest. I know you probably want to ask a question later on.
I'm dying to ask you questions about Everest, but go ahead.
Speaking out of my story here.
Yeah,
so
that's okay.
yeah, so when I was on Everest, I totally see the magic of belief, because I actually start out as the weakest, smallest, slowest one on my team, that I was deemed the least likely to summit on my team. Like no one was really think it's possible for me. But before I left home, my coach, Dave Mimont, he's an awesome coach in Boston area. And he said to me, you are strong enough. I have complete confidence you can summit Everest. So it doesn't matter everyone else what they're saying or what's their message coming out of their eyes when they saw me on the trail, so slow, so small, so weak. I know what they're thinking, but I don't care what you're thinking. My coach said I'm good enough. I can. Yeah. So I'm going to stay here because I believe I'm good enough.
I love it. That kind of gives me goosebumps just to think about it. I think of climbing as a purely, well, I'm sure it's not purely mental. It's very much a mental game. How much of it would you say is mental versus physical?
I would say 90% mental.
Wow.
Because on my Everest team, we started out 25 people. Within the first month, 1/3 quit.
Wow.
And the people who quit were stronger, more experienced. And actually, when they were quitting at that time, I was sick. I had to descend to another village to recover from my infections. It's a lung infection and not just any other infection.
Wow.
Right? That's critical for climbing. So my future at that point it's super unclear, or say not so promising, say that way. Not to say I started out as the slowest, weakest one. So when everyone else was quitting, I was like, why am I sitting here? Like all those stronger people, they are leaving. Why am I still on the mountain? Like even some of my friends on Facebook, they posted saying, oh, Lei, come home. This is too much. Some people already think they cannot even bear to see me going through that. They want me to go home. But I like, well, one thing I believe I'm still strong enough. Two is, there's no one really said that I should quit. Yeah. Why should I quit? Because at that time I had a line in my mind is, I'm not going to be too stubborn if I'm injured, if the doctor say you're too sick, if the team captain say you're really not strong enough for this mountain, I'm not going to be stubborn, because safety is important. And not only my safety, but my team and all the people who are supporting expedition. So even though I was sick at that point, doctor didn't say you should go home. Doctor said you should go down the mountain to recover. So I said, okay, that doesn't mean it's the end. It's just a pause right now. And I was slow, but my team captain didn't say you should go home. Team captain just keep on encouraging me. Oh, you need to make sure you go to this camp within how many hours. So as long as you hit that time frame, that's still good enough. So I was able to hit each goal at each step. And so I said, okay, there's no excuses for me to say I need to quit, even though other people are quitting.
Wow. And so you had to go back down the mountain to help your lungs recover.
Yeah.
And then did they wait for you, or did you have to catch up, so to speak, or how did that?
No one gonna wait for you.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, but the good thing is on the mountain, there's also built-in days to rest because you are tired. You can't nonstop climbing. So I was lucky that the window I missed was not too big. I was off the mountain for 5 days. So the 5 days I was lucky. All I need to do is eat really well in a hotel, sleep all day long, and taking the double dose of antibiotics. So I actually recovered pretty well. And luckily, when I went back to the base camp, the doctor cleared me to say, okay, look like you're clear. You can go if you want to. So I said, okay, no one said no, so I'm going to continue.
Right. I want to ask you more about Everest, if that's okay. I know it's your podcast, but I want to honor the fact you have some amazing experiences. So you climb Everest. You then, from what I've understood about climbing, the more dangerous aspect of it is the descent, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious, like the elation of realizing I achieved this goal, and then the, oh crap, thought of I have to go back down now. Tell me about how you kind of achieve that. You have that elation, and then you have to recalibrate, if you will, your mind to prepare for the descent. How does that work?
Well, first of all, most people think most people should be jumping up and down on the summit. Actually, on the summit, my heart is just holding on the really thin line, thinking, okay, I want to make sure I'm going to go down safely, because I know all the time that descending is not only by technically it's harder, more dangerous because your weight center is different, it's more dangerous. But above that is your physical exhaustion, because when you are shooting for the goal, you have all the adrenaline rush, you have all the motivation to go at your best. People tend to overexhaust themselves on the way to summit. So I was super careful, knowing I don't want to overspend myself, because one of the saying is, if you have only enough energy to go one step, that one step should be going down, not going up. But most people will think, if I still one step, I'm going to go up. I want to go to the summit. So I always keep that in mind, knowing like I'm not going to over push myself on the way to the summit. And I know most people die on the way down. So definitely on the summit, I was nowhere near any elation or relaxed or any kind of, I'm happy that I finally come to the halfway point. I can go down now. That's what was on my mind. I'm thinking, okay, now I'm done. I can go down. Then going down, I keep on having to tell myself, take whatever time you need, be safe with every step. And because one crazy thing about Everest is I went to Everest without telling my parents. So they had no idea where I was. So I definitely didn't want them to read in the news saying, hey, congratulations, Lei made to the summit, but sorry, she didn't come home. I don't want them to read the news line like that. So I was super high alert. Like I have to make sure I go down safely. That's paramount, most important. And it's super exhausting to going down after you, like with so much excitement, go to the summit.
Sure.
And no matter what, you still spend more than what you think is half the energy. So on the way down, actually took 3 days to descend from summit to base camp. And the last day going through the section between Camp 1 and base camp, which called Kumbu Icefall. That's the most dangerous section on the mountain because the avalanches happen all the time, day and night. And the avalanche size is not like the snowflake. It's like ice block, like a refrigerator, like a house crumbling down on top of you from the peak 4,000 feet above you. So throwing down all the ice block, that's crazy scary.
Wow.
So when I was about to enter that section, I was like, I'm so tired. I really feel like I want to rescue. I can't go through this. It's too dangerous. I'm too tired to go through this. If something happens, I cannot run. So that time I actually kind of had a little breakdown in the mental state. I felt like I really cannot do it. So I called on radio, trying to just back some kind of rescue. So I called my team captain who is in base camp, was in base camp that time. I said, oh, I'm too tired. I couldn't go through this. I was hoping to get some sympathy, get some help. Say, hey, wait, I'm going to send someone up to help you. I'm going to send someone to carry something or send an oxygen bottle for you. Or I was just hoping, give me any help to help me make it easier for me to go out. And you get what my team captain said. Hey, tough luck. I'll see you in base camp.
How much time did it take you to get to base camp from that point?
that's still like a 4 or 5 hours most of the day
Wow.
to work. So I can imagine he was drinking beer and say, "Hey, tough up. I'll see you later."
Yeah. Wow. To me, I think like climbing is, you must correlate that a lot to clients.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. Because a lot of my strengths in my building business were even just to say when we talk before we're talking about the confidence, the belief we inject into clients, we have to have that power in ourselves first to believe in the client. If I'm shaking, I'm not sure if you can do it. I can't say it out confident to tell you I believe you can. Then you hear that, you're gonna shake. Oh, I don't think I can either. So I think the climbing really helped me just to strengthen that muscle power inside me that I know like the moment when I was going through combo alpha, like I was mentally want to give up, but my team captain hung up on me, gave me no option. Then I have to, okay, so I have to tell myself, now you are the only person you can count on. You have to walk out of this alive, and no one gonna help you. You have to do it yourself. So I know I can push through things like that. Then later on in business, in life, when building business, like like building a new business on your own is like a marathon, like a climbing, need a lot of endurance. You need to go through up and downs. So I just know, okay, just hold on. It's just one more step. Try it one more time. You'll make a progress. You'll be there. I know doesn't matter how hard you can pull through. So I pull through that myself. I know when my clients or other situation comes up, I know just need to hold on a little bit longer because
that is a great.
because
I love that.
Right, like so there's so many people trying to start a business, trying to start something. At the starting line, there are millions of people, but at the finish line, there's only a few left. And those few are not the strongest one, not the smartest one. Those are the people who didn't give up. That's it.
Right. They're the most resilient. I think there's something to be said. You said there, well, I think it's crazy when you have a big obstacle, a big challenge in front of you. It could be anything, Everest or building a business, and you are trying to think through it, and you don't feel like there's a way to get through this problem. You feel like this is the one that's going to bring me down. It's crazy how if we just begin to take steps, even if we're not sure if that's the right direction, but we begin to take any steps in a direction toward getting through it, it's crazy how things will come out of what I would say the woodwork, right? Come out of nowhere to help us, right? So when I first started, when I decided to go solo, about 2 weeks after, I had, I think, 10 referrals come to me, and unsolicited, which was even crazier, from someone that I had worked with in the past. And so but it was a lot of fear to start to go out on your own, and then suddenly you get flooded with referrals. And I think a lot of clients, the one thing I encourage them to do is start taking steps in the right direction and have faith, right? Faith could be God faith. It could be just faith in others. It could be faith in someone or something, that you'll get to where you need to go. Just start making progress and taking baby steps if you have to, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I feel the power of coaching. A lot of time people just say, oh, you believe it can happen because you believed it. So you took one step. Doesn't matter how small that step, that's going to accumulate.
Yep.
And it's action generated results. It's not just like waiting. If you are waiting for the perfect condition to happen, when I lined up all in resource, investment, opportunities, I have the client lined up, then I open my door. Then that may never happen. Just take one step at a time. Then things are going to happen.
In fact, it'll probably never happen, is what I'd even go as far as to say, if we wait, right? If we wait for the perfect time. I had someone asked me about that as far as, and I said he was someone that has kids, and I said, was it a perfect time to have kids? And he laughed and he said, no, never. It's never a perfect time. So it's just being able to go and believe that things are going to work out, and I'm going to learn something along the way. Definitely. Tell me, how far into climbing were you when you did Everest? Was that your last?
Yeah, that was my last step on my. So I did the so-called Explorers Grand Slam, which climbed the 7 summits, which is the highest mountain on each of the 7 continents, and ski to the North Pole and the South Pole. So my original dream was to climb Everest. However, when I started that daydream, I was a pure book nerd, unathletic, no training, no nothing about climbing or mountains, anything. So I had zero confidence. So of course, I wouldn't put Everest as my first step. So I know I need baby steps. So that's why I started doing the 7 summit. I think, okay, I'll do smaller mountain first. Then if I can safely climb the other 6, then probably I should be ready for the number 7. And at that time, it kind of naive and idealistic because I made the plan when I knew nothing about climbing, but it happened to be okay.
Right. That's the best time to make plans, when you know nothing. Sometimes you learn too much, right? And then we never go forward because we know everything. That's I think what happens sometimes, people going into business too. They educate themselves, and it's great to educate ourselves on different things, but at some point you just have to go forward and make an effort to move forward on any decision, and stop gathering information and start taking action. I think what we've just talked about really is taking action, right?
Yeah, and I think taking actions, a lot of time we want to say, I want to make sure I'm taking the right action. I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. The truth is, any action is better than no action. Yeah. Any decision is better than no decision. Even if that's a wrong decision, you learn something. Even if that's a wrong step, you learn something. And you can out how to move in the right direction. But if you stand there, do nothing, you never figure out which way is right, which way is wrong.
Right. So true. So I want to ask you about coaching, and I'll answer the question myself first, and then you can answer it. But why should any people in business sort of get into a coach? And I'll just hit on one thing, and that's taking perspective. Because a coach, I believe a business owner or a leader will always achieve more with a coach that's a good fit for them. I'll say a coach, because they can help them take perspective. They can help them see their shortcomings. They can help, and those shortcomings might be how they're interpreted from their teams, right? There's a lot on perspective. It's not just perspective on decisions. It can be a perspective on how they're received. It can be a lot of different areas. But for me, coaching it's a no-brainer. It's an absolute must. I believe everybody needs a coach, but I think the biggest thing is perspective. But I'll ask you that same question. Why coaching is important to leaders? Why would it be, if someone's considering coaching, why would that be important for them?
Yeah, I think coaching is almost like a shortcut to success, because you can read a lot of books. You can read ton of books, ton of articles on internet. You can listen to all the material you want. You can spend a lot of time to bury yourself in all the information. And often happens is the more we learn, we actually less action we take. And then we get confused. And coaching really helped me a lot of time. Is like just to clear my mind. Okay, forget about all the information around you. What is the most important right now? What is one thing you can take action on? It's like you can hear everywhere the 5 secrets of this and 10 steps to do that. Right. How many steps you actually took after that? But every time I work with a coach, there's always one specific thing I'm going to focus on, and that's going to yield results. Just like you're focusing on the dentist, that is clarity, that is the focus. Yeah. Otherwise, if we just say, okay, we'll just work with whoever, then you never see clearly what is the best fit for you. And that is test and try, right? Even if say that's the wrong focus, you're going to see, oh, okay, then I'm going to shift my focus. But if you never focused, you never even know what you're supposed to shoot at.
Absolutely. And I remember coming to you during some of our calls saying, I was a little overwhelmed. Like I didn't know what to do next. And I was a little bit crippled, if you will, just thinking like, not sure what to do next. And I remember you saying like, what's the one thing that'll help you take, move one step in the right direction. And so I remember you breaking that down for me.
Yeah.
So that worked. I'll let you ask any questions as I don't want to hijack the podcast.
No, I love this open-ended question. I think that's the fun thing about today is we get to share our wisdom with the audience and people get to tap into two brains here.
Absolutely.
Feel free to questions you have. We just
do you have any favorite podcasts that you listen to?
I listen to a lot of podcasts. So all the I first discovered podcast is the Tim Ferriss one because I loved the wide spectrum of speakers he had, the wide range of topic. I love to listen to anything. It seems like when I was reading books, I'm only reading strategy books, only reading this business topic books. I want to read anything. So podcasts give me the opportunity to just tune in different topic. So I always can just open up my mind and also listen to a lot of self-help books or self-help podcasts and just any interesting topic. Like when I run into anyone, I always love to hear, oh, what are you listening? And I'm going to chime in to listen a little bit to see if I like it. It's always good to learn all the time.
I agree. I have Tim Ferriss on my podcast list. I listen to Ed. Probably the most consistent is Ed Milet. And I feel like gets in, it's business, it's a little bit of strategy, and it's also self-help. It's kind of a blend. And there's some great storytellers on there. I love listening to stories and reading books. Is there an author that you follow that you would recommend to people in general, or a book that sort of came across your path at a critical time that you would say has been a difference maker?
I think the book I never missed was Adam Grant's books. So he had several new books I always followed. And Simon Sinek, I don't know if I pronounce his name.
Simon Sinek, yes.
Yeah, his books are great. I love the book on leadership a lot. And I love the book that just go deeper into the mind, but also like the books that can broaden your horizons of thinking something you think is in the plain view, but actually there's much deeper behind it. For example, I think I mentioned the book to you before, the Why We Sleep.
You have mentioned that.
When I read that book, I said, this is a question you don't need to ask. Everyone knows why we need to sleep. But until I read that book, I just realized, wow, there's so much more behind it. Because a lot of times we hear one thing, you hear it once. Yeah, I heard it. I know it's good. I know it's important. Until you heard enough time from different perspectives, finally you click. Now I finally get it why it's so important.
Sure.
So from that book, I changed a lot of my habit. I try to make sure I sleep enough times, not to be proud of staying up late. I'm no longer being proud of myself to say, oh, I worked so many hours.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I sleep enough hours because that is for our health, for our mental power, for everything.
And I'm sure it's a pillar of, how many books and podcasts are out there on diet and nutrition and exercise, right? 1 million on that. I'm sure sleep is an argument that sleep is as critical, if not more so, than all those other things, right? And I'm sure when it comes to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, any not personal trainer, who am I thinking of, nutritionist or whoever, or physician or whoever would say sleep is as critical as everything else, if not more so.
Yeah, and from that book, I also understood a lot of things of how we were doing things automatically without thinking, without questioning, like why we're practicing this way. For example, why the school children always go to class so early, like they need to get up 6 o'clock to catch a school bus. what does that imply to their growth? Why the doctors, when they were in the residency, they were pulling out so many overnighters. So that's something it's because carried on from previous wrong reasons they carried on this tradition, and we didn't realize how detrimental, how dangerous that kind of practice is.
And it's probably, I'm guessing that the doctors were students, so they were procrastinators, so they were pulling all-nighters versus studying every day along the way as much as they could have, perhaps.
Wrong.
Wrong. It was worth a try.
Especially the doctor's residency is a funny story that I would recommend you read it because I don't want to spill the bean here, but it's super interesting. For totally wrong reason, they started that tradition, which totally should be reverted. And children, a lot of things have to do with the parents' schedule. Parents work, but that is super damaging for children's brain growth. So there's a lot of things we need to change. We need to consciously question. So that actually, when we're chatting about this, reminded me like a lot of things in our life, we accept it automatically without questioning.
Yeah.
For example, before I started doing my climbing, well, my basic climbing is my pivotal moment in my life, totally changed the whole trajectory. And that's also the pivotal moment that changed my brain pattern in some way, how I think. Because before I started climbing, I never questioned why I do this job, why I live life this way. With that, I started to question, because when I started asking the question, why I want to go climbing? Who told you you should go climbing? Why is it wrong to go climbing or is it right to go climbing? I was trying to understand myself. Then I asked the question, okay, then how about why you go to work? Why you do this job? Who said you should follow this career track? So I begin to question all those things at that moment. And I come up with a very interesting image in my mind. It's like, when you were born, getting out of your mommy, did you have a track in front of you to say, this is a track you're supposed to follow? Or where that track in front of you come from to say, this is your career track. This is your life path you should follow.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a track at all. I'm sure you didn't either, right? I think it's...
I had a track until that point.
Okay.
But I question, where did that track come from? I wasn't born with this, so this is imposed on me.
Right.
Who said I have to follow this track?
Teachers, parents, right? Family members, loved ones.
Yeah.
But I think until you get to a point in your life that you sort of do question and ask yourself, and I think I think COVID is actually contributing to that now. People are starting to question my career, my business, where I live. If anything COVID is doing that's positive, it's causing people to stop and think about their direction in life. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think COVID, on one side, a lot of tragedy happening, but on the other side, it's an awakening moment for many people that we get opportunity to question things we have accepted for so many years. For example, this remote working thing before, it's like company would say, that's not possible. This is what be bad for productivity. It's impossible to have more than how many percentage of people working from home. And now it's totally reverse. It's so natural. So something unimaginable, once you questioned and you realize that is just artificial constraint, you put it down, then things can be different.
I would like to think that there will be more people living or striving toward living their purpose in life and living where they want to live, because of the restrictions that COVID has put up. And I'm not talking about mandates, but I'm talking about because of COVID and forcing themselves to work from home and do different things. Some of them know that they don't want to work from home anymore, right? They want to get out of the house and go back and get away from the kids during the day, perhaps. Some of them know and realize they can live where they want to and completely work from home remotely. So that's a pretty neat thing, I think. That I'm an optimist, so I'm going to look at the positive things. Of course, there's been horrible There's been death, loss of family members. There's been horrible things. As a society, I think we do have to learn as we move forward and take something out of an experience of like the last 2 years, almost going on 2 years now.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing is it doesn't matter you figure out which kind of job you want to take, where you want to work. It's more about awareness and consciousness of we're going to choose how we live, how we work, how we relate consciously. Yeah. And we became clearer on what is important in our life, how we should handle relationships, how we view the priorities in our life, and see the perspective, like say, seeing the kids around or seeing your family around through a different lens. What does that mean? They are around you. Then you have different thing you compare to. So everything does mean different things now.
I want to throw another question out there, and it's self-serving for both of us.
Sure.
So because we both have been through this at one point in our lives. Now you and I have both have had multiple coaches, I'm sure, at different times in our lives now. And we both believe in it, and it's both of our business. It's our business. So if someone is listening to this and they are, I don't care if they're a corporate employee or business owner, whatever, they're thinking about climbing, and they're considering hiring a coach, but they have not, what should they expect? And what are some natural fears that they may have to go through if they're thinking about hiring a coach and they're not sure if they should or not? What would you say to them about that?
Yeah, one of the most common fear I heard from clients is about, I want to learn from someone who had been there, done that. They kind of still have mentality of want to follow someone's steps. And I want people to see the difference between something is tactical and something is strategic, because how to navigate inside your career track, how to navigate corporate environment, or how to overcome this obstacle right in front of you can be tactical. You want someone who show you how to solve this problem. But coaching is broader than that. It's more strategic, like your vision, your long-term, your mindset. It's not just how to solve this problem. It's about if you want to be where you want to be in 5 years, how you're going to plan out beyond this step, see different side. So I would encourage people. I like the concept of personal board of advisors, because a lot of people think I need someone to show me this way or that way. But if you see yourself as a business, you wouldn't want to have only one advisor on your board. You want a different perspective. No one going to give you all the answers, and you cannot take all the answers literally to say, oh, my board advisors say I should do step 1, 2, 3, I'll follow what they say. You have to digest, figure out, and create your own steps. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just following people's steps, become a copy of another person. So I highly encourage anyone considering coaching, see it as you need more than one coach.
Absolutely.
Every coach has different perspectives, different strengths, and you need many, many different perspectives, different inputs, different kind of help. So expand your horizon, get a board advisor for yourself.
I love that. And I want to add to it before I forget, sorry to interrupt you. I would say if it's someone who is seeking someone who's gone before me, you're seeking actually a mentor there, not a coach. There is a difference, I think. And I think that's great to seek a mentor who's gone before you, who's going to give you that the steps they took. A coach is going to give you perspective, which is a wider breadth. There's a famous saying, I think it was Confucius, but I'm not sure. If you want to know about water, don't ask a fish, because that's all they know. They don't know. They don't have another perspective. You want to have a perspective outside of the fishbowl, right? Outside of someone that's in it all the time. The fish is in the water all the time. That's all they know.
Yeah. So you want an eagle who can tell you there's a sky.
Oh, there you go. I love it. And then they can go down and grab the fish if they need to.
Poor fish.
Right. At least they don't have the nerves, so they don't feel it. Anything you want to ask, I'll let you, anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, we can just, I feel like we're doing a Tim Ferriss show right here.
Right, I agree.
Our own wisdom tapping on each other. And so, yeah, I like to tap into your brains of some kind of like common hurdles you see clients often face in this during the process of coaching or at the end of step of coaching.
That's a good question. I'm a big believer in foundational areas of coaching and just getting some simple things straightened out. I think when people come into coaching, one of the challenges they have is they have so many thoughts swimming around in their head that they don't know in it. It might be if it's they're working with a team, for example, they don't know which team members to promote, but they have really poor systems. They have a really cloudy, very poor clarity on where their direction is and their vision, and they may have no systems. So I like to sort of lay down maybe a half a dozen or so or 10 topic areas that are sort of foundational to help them at least get a start on their direction. So typically it's not always going to be the same for everybody, but some of the ones just off the top of my head, it's going to be around vision. Like what's the 10-year, maybe the 5-year, the 2-year, you can go in different increments, but what is our long-term? And that's through asking questions and talking about it, right? We establish that. Along with that, then goals, what are our actual goals? It might be around revenue. It might be around hiring, things like that. I like to touch on 3 areas, and that's around sort of mindset, systems, and then around also leadership skills and developing those as well. So it might be around specific systems that they need that establish communication between the leader and the team or employees. So it might be instilling systems of communication, weekly meetings with a specific format so we are communicating properly. The whole time, by the way, that we lay these foundational areas down, vision, goals, individual one-to-one meetings, team meetings, as well as other foundational areas include like onboarding systems, hiring, there's a lot of different ones. It all impacts culture. So you're constantly starting to chip away and develop the right culture as well. So, but I think the biggest thing is just having just some simple go-tos and mastering the basics of their business, right? Goals, vision. And then the other one I kind of get into with vision is sort of uncovering where we're at today. Let's all say it's okay to talk about and discuss and uncover the negative stuff that we have to deal with today. Because you got to know where you're at before you can start going toward that vision, right? You might actually be a little bit worse off than you realize. You might have more problems than you think of. That's okay. But we want to uncover those, right? And sort of brush the dust off of those so we get a clear look at what's going on. And then we start working toward in the right direction. But there's other foundational areas, but I try to keep it pretty simple in the beginning, get them feeling very confident and strong. Another one we get into, of course, is their calendar and where they're spending their time. And with that, I also attach if we're delegating and who we're delegating to. And it's a really easy one to get into delegation when it comes to leaders and business owners who are doing, almost minimum wage type tasks that they can delegate off, but they are poor at managing. They're poor at giving duties away that they feel are critical because they typically feel like if it's going to get done, it's up to me to do it, right? So that's a big one for a lot of leaders. So I would say a line share of the foundational areas to get them started, but keeping it simple. And I want all those thoughts swimming to start settling down. Once we cover the foundational areas, the dust begins to settle, so to speak, in their mind. So then we can start to work forward. And that's when coaching becomes more fun, because once you get certain things and habits created and help them establish those, then we can do things like this where they come to us as coaches with all different kinds of problems, so to speak, and we help them think through those And it's not just a teaching moment for time management or a teaching moment for onboarding. That's already in place. And then we can start tackling proactive things to get ahead versus always reacting, because I liken leadership to like being proactive or reactive. And if you're not doing things to move yourself towards being proactive, that's instilling systems, being in charge of your calendar, being disciplined, you're automatically going to be forced into reactive mode, right? So I like to establish that groundwork so we can get on proactive mode, so we get ahead of things. So there's a lot of things that are going to be different with every leader. If it's a solo operation, then it's a little bit of a different approach. If we're multiple teams involved, then it makes things a little bit easier. But the way I approach coaching is I want to sort of settle their mind and help them gain their own confidence in moving forward by starting with the basics and foundational areas.
That's great. Yeah, foundations.
Mastering the basics.
And I want to tap into your wisdom because you are the expert in sales coaching. So oftentimes when we approach clients, sometimes client will think, I'm perfect. Like everything is great. Like, why do I need your help? So how do you approach that situation?
The first thing I do, and I'm kind of smiling because I have had that reaction, is I actually approach it before they even say anything. And I say, none of us are perfect. We're always, in fact, I tell them my belief is you never arrive, you just keep getting better, right? And 99% of the time they will agree, yes, I agree with you. So that's actually a sales sort of tactic right there, where you just let them know, like, you can't say you've arrived because that's not an option. Because the belief is let's just agree that we always need to get better, even if you're the top producer at your company, right? You can still get better. All of us can always get better. If you believe you've arrived, that's when you're beginning to sort of decline, in my opinion. So usually I ask them, I share with them my philosophy on that. And again, 99 times out of 100, they agree with me, like, yes, we can always get better. Once they accept that, then we can begin to talk about, you're a top producer, or you're an average producer, or you're not producing what you want. Or if I'm talking to the leader, I'll ask them, what are your top producers doing that your average producers are not doing? So it gets down to behaviors, right? But it's letting them know that not growing, not being growth minded is not an option when they're talking to me anyway. They can think that outside of that, but typically that sort of brings them over, and I think developing a quick rapport and helping them see another foundation. If I'm coaching salespeople or sales leaders, or a solo operation where they are the sales leader, it's tracking outbound efforts, whether it's, calls or whatever it is, and conversations, sort of using a sales funnel. Most people like that once they get started in it, because they see there's a finite number of calls I have to make, that it's not infinite, right? I feel like I have to always be working or always be. No, you don't. If you want to achieve this goal, you only have to do this many calls to get this many meetings, to actually get this many prospects, to actually get this many sales, right? So once people learn, like, measuring and tracking progress is a positive thing, not a negative thing, and it actually puts you at ease, because then all you have to do is just go and do your job every day, which might be making calls or whatever it is. So sales, it's I don't accept and I'm careful on how I explain it. I sort of give them my mindset, they agree to it, but then also we look at simple things quickly that can get them results. Tracking is a big one in sales specifically. And then fear, getting around typically talking to people. And then we work through other areas, very similar to business coaching, like the ones I mentioned, but there's a couple of unique things with sales.
Great. Well, our time is almost coming up. So
yeah.
Anything else on your mind we should talk about?
We could talk all day, but I love the fact that you're just the climbing thing. You can apply that to so much, like any problem or goal. Like, to me, climbing a mountain and coming down is, I mean, that's the definition of like problem solution and belief and faith and like perseverance, and it blends in with all of that. So I'm envious that you have the Everest goal. I have my own experience, so that's okay. But again, as your client, I would tell anyone that you've done a magnificent job with me, and if you're looking for a great leadership coach, Lee is second to none. She's the best.
Thank you, Jerry. And
Yes.
if anyone looking for business coach, sales coach, Jerry is second to none.
Thank you, Lee.
And
Appreciate that.
how find out about you, like where they go look up?
So you can go to topdogbusinesscoaching.com and inquire there. Also on LinkedIn, you can find me. Thank you for pronouncing my name right. 99% of the people don't pronounce it right. Tuisl, you are correct. It's Tuisl, Jerry Tuisl. And you can hit my website or hit me on LinkedIn, and would love to connect on there.
Great. And today I want to close with an unconventional question. Normally that I don't ask other guests, but I feel maybe perfect for us. What do you think is your superpower as a coach?
Wow, my superpower as a coach. The first thing that comes to my mind, because I even talked about it when I gave a speech at my own wedding, was encouragement, to be the encourager of others. And that's always been part of my purpose, is to be the encourager of others. But I think it's more than just being an encourager. I think it's the ability to help others see their challenges as something they can overcome, and then and then also being the encourager to help them persevere. So being an encourager is it's probably going to be on my tombstone one day.
Great.
Yeah. Can I ask that same question of you?
Of course.
What's your superpower?
I believe anything is possible, because how my daydream came true, my whole journey was unbelievable in making one turn after another turn, and everything always come out right. So I have this kind of almost superstition belief that anything is possible. So I believe in anyone. Wild, crazy dream. I think that's why I say, if you believe in it, if you dare to dream it, you can make it happen.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Good job, Lee. I love this. Thank you for asking me to be a part of the podcast today.
Thank you for coming today. And thank you everyone for listening in today, and keep an eye out for the next episode next week, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Journey with Lay. What's your most valuable takeaway from today's episode? What is one step that you are inspired to take? Start tapping into your power of excitement and become the leader you are always meant to be. If you dare to dream it, you can achieve it. Go to journeywithlay.com or email hello@journeywithlay.com. We'll see you again next week.